And with that, we're going to go ahead and welcome from KPBS, who's a reporter officially doing everything, not just soccer, but just out there doing the work, getting it done, boots on the ground. Jacob, please introduce yourself to everybody here. And how are you doing tonight?
Good. Thank you guys for having me on. Hope you can hear me okay. Yeah, like you said, reporter at KPBS. I do a little bit of this and that. Been behind the camera. Been on the radio production side of things. I've been on the web team. But yeah, I was the reporter who kind of led the charge for the Soccer a la Frontera project. And I've had a lot of help, of course, organizing this upcoming event. A lot of people who helped me get that project up and going. But yeah, it was kind of my baby.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people saw across their algorithms on Instagram, and it was popping up. And when we saw it come out, we were like, "Wow, this is a really cool, just kind of local take on it." And we saw some of our pals, our friends, or Ivan Orozco was part of it. We saw
Yep.
former San Diego Punto Football great of the week, Joe Corona, as
Yep.
well. But yeah, I mean, could you talk to me a little bit about how this project came about and here locally, and what really started this movement?
Got it. Yeah, so just getting the event tied in with this project, they are related. They're not exactly the same, but the idea is to kind of tie this event into the series I did. So, Soccer La Frontera was really our attempt to document the growth of soccer culture here in San Diego. As you guys know, and probably a lot of your community knows, on a professional level, soccer goes back in San Diego and Tijuana all the way to the 60s. And of course, people have played here for decades, men, women, girls, boys. So we wanted to show how we've gone to this point where we are now. Four top flight teams, both sides of the border, 25 miles of one another. This didn't just happen overnight. It was a long time coming from fanatics like yourselves, advocating, and then just the everyday people who play and have a love for the game. So, as you guys were just talking about, and I was listening, you have two teams now who are like towards the top of their respective divisions, top of their leagues, even. Of course, on the Club Tijuana side, maybe a bit of rebuilding, but this isn't just soccer. This is like good soccer here in San Diego and Tijuana.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a discovery process for a lot of people who are just kind of looking into it a little bit. Even people who are in it, maybe segmented away from everybody else, and really just in a different sphere of their own. Just soccer is so vast and different. Like, we know how to speak soccer in the South Bay a little bit. You also grew up in the South Bay, but talk to me about like Vista and what Carlsbad's soccer scene is.
Very different.
I don't know where to go for a pickup game. I don't know where people congregate for that. And so, how was that process, just kind of learning and putting the San Diego together through soccer?
Yeah, it was interesting. I kind of came as a bit of an outsider into this series. Like growing up, I grew up in San Diego, but I was actually a baseball player. So my brother, he was the soccer player growing up. He had a lot of friends around that would play. I was kind of on the outside looking in, I guess, but I saw kind of how it worked. He played all throughout the county. But yeah, when I was going through this process, it was just like realizing how many different community groups there are everywhere across the county, and how each community group maybe fills its own niche. And then beyond those community groups, there's just like these standout individuals who have consistently gone above and beyond year after year. And then you have this like multi-generational aspect to it too, where you have these young kids who are super passionate for the game and now have idols to look up to. Whereas in the past, I spoke with some old timers who have been in the San Diego soccer scene here for literally decades, and how a lot of those folks had to kind of start something of their own, and how they had to get that ball rolling for maybe people like us who are a bit more in the middle of it all. So it was a bit of a challenge at first, honestly, to figure out like exactly where it was. I talked to a lot of the soccer fanatics within my own newsroom and within my community before I just kind of took flight on this series. I wanted to make sure I was covering all my bases. And, I talked to folks who were experts on the south side of the border in Tijuana and beyond. I talked to people who currently or did or both play here in San Diego County on the men's and women's side. So I wanted to cover everything. There wasn't time to cover everything that is soccer in San Diego, but we feel like we hit, a lot of the core components, at least throughout this 5-part series.
No, and I think the cool thing about it, right, that how you covered this is that you're kind of coming from an outside perspective where a lot of people that grew up with the soccer culture may have some biases, right? Like if you ask Tony and I, we're probably going to do a little bit more coverage in South Bay just because we grew up around here. But I think that was a very interesting take, just coming from I mean, your background in baseball and diving into soccer. I think that's what made it really interesting for me to watch and enjoy. So, I mean, I really want to give you kudos on that because that was just excellent coverage.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and that's actually not to say like in many ways I didn't say this on it, but I think it's fair to say at least on the podcast, South Bay and the region within 30 miles south of the border, I think in many ways that is the heart and soul of soccer in our region. But at the same time, you do have these pockets kind of spread all throughout the county, whether it's in Escondido or even North County Coastal, where you have to this day teams like the Sockers like holding it down, and you have
Yeah, they do.
these large, yeah, like, and then you have these large youth organizations out there. I mean, of course, Surf is like renowned; they're a powerhouse. So it is really spread all throughout the county. But you could argue passionately, culturally, yeah, that maybe the heartbeat is close to the Frontera itself.
And I'm curious what you think about these professional teams. These teams can have a huge impact on the communities in San Diego, whether it be with stadiums and how stadiums are built, taxes, things like that. What do you think these professional teams have done and are going to do for the future of San Diego?
Yeah, so for those who maybe have seen parts of it or who haven't, we dove into like the early days where, soccer kind of came and went largely until the 80s here in San Diego. The San Diego Sockers were really the first team that laid a stake in the late 70s. They had this whole indoor soccer scene. They played at basically what was, most recently named Qualcomm, Jack Murphy at the time, and then Pachanga for most of their career up until they moved into Oceanside recently. So you could kind of see that stadium evolution there. And then you look at a more local level. You guys were just talking about Torero Stadium. I mean, talk about storied here in San Diego. Of course, mostly for the college teams now, but San Diego Spirit, the first women's professional team, like that was their home field, and they would sell out that stadium from time to time. They had big crowds, and of course, you can't talk about it without Club Tijuana Stadium. It's huge and it's unique. It's this blend of culture between America and Mexico. It's this like semi American football stadium, semi traditional soccer stadium, and then Snapdragon itself hosting for two teams. Building, I think the space for it was important. You saw failed attempts to bring soccer to San Diego in the past. And I think sometimes getting the stadium that can actually have the capacity to grow, I think that allowed for soccer to finally be what it's now really become. And you see that in the attendance. Yes, the women's side of attendance has slipped a little, but the Wave really held it down for a few years there, showing that soccer had this tens of thousands potential here. And now SDFC consistently around the upper 20s to more than that, 30,000 in attendance mark. And Club Tijuana does their own thing too. So I think stadiums matter. They're hard to get funded. But once you have them, they can really be a boost to the overall economy, not just for the soccer fans, but you can create a culture. You start selling merch because of it. The team does well, it's a playoff push. The whole city comes together. You saw this with the Padres. Like they were good in the 90s, then everyone kind of fell off. Now look what the Padres are doing. Look at what it's done for the city. So stadiums do matter, but teams matter too.
No, 100%. And I mean, you're talking about soccer, right? Soccer's move over to Oceanside. Big questions. Who's going to go? Like, it's a long drive. I mean, I do color commentary for them, and it's a long drive for me from here.
It is far, and it's like hard to access to some degree.
Hard to act to a lot of degrees, actually. It's a nightmare. It's a nice arena though. But that's to say, like the community did start coming out, and not only that, the local economy with local Jam and Z90 R&B concerts that you can start having in that area that you otherwise wouldn't. Like it's that big picture type of thing that is coming from soccer and what's always been here, which is really the cool aspect about all this. Let me ask you, Jacob, here.
Yeah.
You say you're a baseball guy, right?
Yeah, I played, and it's the sport I follow.
And I love that, right? You're a natural athlete. So have you gone out there? Have you ever played soccer since then? Have you just appreciated the sport a little bit more? What are your just kind of takes? Have you been to a game since then?
So it's interesting you ask that because I do think like I followed it. My family on my dad's side's Italian, so I kind of follow like Serie A loosely to some degree.
Ooh.
But I will say, since I covered the series, I don't know whether it was just the reporting and like the passion I had for this project, but I've kind of noticed myself. I continue to follow the MLS and the NWSL much more closely. While I haven't been out to a game yet as a fan, I have been in and around the stadiums multiple times. I do intend to go out to games. I actually meant to go to one very recently. But yeah, I've definitely been following both the MLS and the NWSL a lot closer. And I would say I'm a fan of both teams now. I think I would probably, get a jersey at some point too. Both teams are great. Some of the folks I interviewed for this series that are currently maybe on one team or the other, like Mel Barcenas on the Wave, hometown kid. How do you not root for something like that? Or Joe Corona, like in Tijuana, like those are stories that are they're from like, a fairy tale book. You got to root for people like that and for teams that have players like that on them.
And shout out, I know our buddy, like we haven't been able to go to training, but hey, shout out NBC also and KPBS, these big box brands for putting Milan Iloski out there, local product as well, who's same thing, like that dream that would have never been here to begin with. And I really have to mention, like I'm very happy that somebody's taking the time and taking that attention to detail to immerse themselves like you have in soccer.
There were a few things we didn't get to logistically with this series because of when we had to roll it out. One of them was including a few more of the local men's voices on the team, him being one of them. And actually, De La Torre was just coming onto the team as we had to finish shooting for it, so it didn't work out. Of course, that's someone I would have loved to get. The episode 5, which really focused on the SDFC team, it still turned out great. But those were some names that, of course, I would have liked to wrap in. That's what I'm saying, though. The story continues to evolve. The training academy is up and coming too. It's cool to see how things are coming full circle. You build it, they will come. The team is here. Now all that talent that's been here all along, it's kind of coming back home. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, we need to get you out there too to lace them up and let's play a little footy. Are you gonna get out there on Saturday? I mean,
I have a few duties for the day's events. I kind of have to MC it and kind of lead the group through things. But yeah, I'm gonna try and play as much as I can as while I'm also working. So we'll see. It's supposed to be fun, right? Like we didn't want this to just be a stuffy event. Like the first half of the event, it's different forms of pickup. Maybe pickup like you're not used to. For those, I don't know how much you guys have talked about it yet, but we're having like walking soccer actually, which is something that maybe caters to people who have injuries or people who are older. We have kicks for giggles, right, kicks and giggles. And then we're gonna have a women's game. We're gonna have a co-ed game. So we're trying to show like the full range of what is soccer here. It's not just one thing that maybe is in your bubble. There's this whole community that's built up, and we're trying to bring these specialized communities that have done such a good job across the county all together.
I love that. I mean, I really got excited with that. I know we were hit up. We've done a couple things with KPBS. We've done a couple roundtables, just being part of it, and it's really cool just to kind of be. For me, I mean, KPBS taught me English. I owe a lot to Arthur, the Aardvark, and company. But this is really cool. It's speaking about full circle. But in terms of this event, kicking it with KPBS Saturday, June 28th, 10 a.m. through 1 p.m. What are some of the organizations that are coming in? I mean, I already saw people in the comment section of this post like, hey, why don't we get an invite? Well, it's like, hey, if it's good, let's make it happen. Looking at you, Omega Ball.
Yeah, we have quite a few. So the idea with this event is to kind of further expand the conversation about soccer culture here and the stories that come from it. So it's a lot more than just what's on the pitch, what's on the field. Even in my series alone, we got into issues or topics of identity, at times politics, issues with gender, generational and socioeconomic issues. So kind of diving into all that. It's if you weren't invited as an organization to participate, it's not that your organization isn't important. It's just that we only had so many different events, and we hope everyone wants to come out. Even if your organization isn't one of the ones who's coming, go to the Eventbrite. Let me read this out for everyone and go register. You do have to register. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull this up for everyone. It is Kicking It with KPBS, standard spelling, 2025.eventbrite.com. So Kicking It with KPBS 2025.eventbrite.com. Go register. Just let us know. It's going to be free lunch. Play the first half, and then you have a community conversation. The groups that are going to be there, including your own organization, there's quite a few. Some are from the series, and some are not. So let me make sure I get all these right too, because there's 8 of them. Okay, here they are. So Chicano Futsal, who was featured in the first episode of the series, they're going to be there. They're undergoing a bit of a rebrand, but it's their same organization. Kicks and Giggles, who's actually going to help run some of the games, they're going to be there. They do a lot of work with kids and women, and sometimes even folks who have various disabilities. Really cool organization. You guys, San Diego Football. We have a group, San Diego Soccer Development. You were talking about North County. They're going to be out there. They deal with a lot of stuff regarding training for kids, maybe who don't have financial access up in Escondido area. So they're going to be out kind of representing the North County. We have Let's Go South Bay and Southwestern College. They're kind of a 2-in-1 deal. You know them?
Yeah, Carolina Soto. She was my coach at Southwestern College. The best soccer class I've ever taken, hands down. The funnest. I've one of some of the most fun I've had. Shout out, Coach.
And Carolina, who's coming out, she actually reached out to me when she was watching the series, and she really enjoyed it, and I wanted to find a way to work her in. I really liked her story.
Mm-hmm.
This girl, this now woman, who came up in the women's soccer scene here and didn't have a path, but so much has changed. And now she tries to give back to girls who grew up on both sides of the border. It's really touching. So her organizations largely do that with Let's Go South Bay, and then she's a coach out of Southwestern. We also have both supporters groups coming out. So Sirens with Wave FC, and then we have essentially the Union with SDFC supporters group coming out. So that'll be fun. And then we have San Diego Soccer Women coming out. They're a group that caters to seniors and women throughout San Diego.
Yeah, we have had them on the podcast as well. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I spoke with Jacob earlier today, and we just kind of talking about we have this community segment. That's exactly what this is built for. A lot of the friends that we've made through in these adventures are being highlighted, and that's really cool that this is happening. We'll do a bit of a podcast out there, see who wants to talk to us. We'll have a table, we'll have a booth, but we also want to play. I want to play. You want to play? Okay. Are we allowed to play?
I can do the walking.
Can I play?
I'm not going to say no.
What do I have to do to try to play? And then we
just sign it there. We have a waiver you got to sign, but besides that, go for it.
You're walking on my back. Won't allow me to run.
I'll go on the other side.
Well, if you can't run, we have walking soccer.
I'm down. That has my name written all over it.
I love that. Well, Jacob, I really appreciate you taking the time to coming on. Is it on the sports deck? Good question. It's actually not on the sports deck. It's actually, is it on the sports deck?
So the event itself is being held basically in and around the KPBS station. There's a very nearby field. I can pull up the exact field name, but essentially if you go to the KPBS station, which is on SDSU campus, you're going to be really close to it. The field is just down that same road. We're going to start at that field, and then we'll come back into the station for lunch in that combo. But make sure you do register ahead of time, because there's free lunch, because we can't have too many people show up. That's right. So if you're pulling up the map, it's the field that's basically right down the road from the KPBS station. But do register ahead of time. That way you can get free parking if you need. If you can take transit, try and do that, because their parking is a bit limited. And I really hope everyone who's interested within your guys' community comes out. We're trying to at the same time, kind of bring all the soccer community together and kind of expand those circles a little bit, your own bubbles.
Yeah, I love that. And that's kind of what we've loved to kind of do here at San Diego Football. And I'm really happy that we're able to connect with this. And what's the goal? If I mean, last question, but like, what's the goal? Another one next year? Is this what could expand it? A 20 episode series?
The goal is to really like find more stories within this is the idea is to have this community conversation. So this is less about us, telling or doing. It's more about us listening to what the community needs, to the stories that we haven't told yet within the soccer community. We want to hear from you guys. So it's about you guys. It's about the community coming out, of course, having fun, a little icebreaker, playing a little pickup, and then talking soccer and what it means here. It's too big to avoid. You got 4 pro teams here. You have so much youth soccer. What are the stories we haven't told yet at KPBS because of this? And what should we be focusing on going into the future? So it's about you.
Love that. Love that, Jacob. Thank you once again for that. Again, kicking in with KPBS this Saturday. Make sure you register on the Eventbrite. Make sure you get there, get those numbers up. And hey, if you want to participate next year, make it happen this year and just show up and put those numbers up. I really want to see people go out there and have a good time. Esteban, better see you out there. But yeah, that's going to be fun this upcoming Saturday. Anything else that we can help with? San Diego Football, KPBS, would love to help. Anything that we can do, let us know. But with that, Jacob, thank you for your time and see you Saturday.
Yes, I'll be out there. Excited to see you guys.